What's up, peeps? This is the Eben Flow podcast. I'm Eben Britton. Special episode with you guys today. It's with my brother, Gus, my blood brother, Gus. It's been a minute since we dropped in. It's a cultural breakdown, catching up on current affairs, AI, all the stuff happening in the world, the craziness, and looking for solutions. As always, that's our goal. It was a really fun one. Always love hanging with my brother Gus, talking with him, dropping in. So you guys will definitely enjoy this episode. This episode is sponsored by New Fit, our good friends in Austin, Texas, Garrett and Company. We will have an episode with Garrett coming down the pipe, talk about the technology, talk about New Fit, his journey coming into wellness. But this product is state-of-the-art. It's absolutely an incredible technology that expedites, quickens the healing process in the body. All the natural processes that the body's already going through, it helps to speed up that natural process. Taps into your nervous system using electrical currents, heal injuries, build strength, optimize the functionality of your total body system. It's fantastic. Check that out in the show notes. There is a link. Head over to new.fit for more information. You can also check out our page, new.fit/Eben Flow. Use code Eben Flow to get a deal on that product, on that device for your home gym, your practice. If you're a physical therapist or someone who this could benefit your work, it's also available to you as well. Finally, this podcast is also sponsored by Quicksilver Scientific. Love Quicksilver's products, all of them. Membrane Mend, The One, Nano Fuel, so many good ones. It's liposomal delivery of ancient adaptogenic herbs and roots. Really fantastic stuff. Great for energy, cognitive function, immune support, all the stuff that we need to feel good and live well. Check that out. Use code EbenFlow at quicksilverscientific.com. Lots of love to you guys. Enjoy this episode. Peace.
You have unlocked the eternal link to internal source, the key of imagination, your admission, access to the enlightened dimension. A gateway at the junction of darkness and light, the place at which the chaos of our conditioned frame of mind give way to a life in constant flux, only to be mastered through vigilant discipline. Peaceful times may come, testing times may go. This is the Eben Flow.
All right, y'all. We're back in the saddle. It's the Eben Flow podcast. First one, and it's been 10 months, I think.
Has it really?
10 months since the last episode was recorded. Feels good. Back on the mic. Took a year. Had to turn it all down to 0.
Uh-huh.
That was a big move.
Why'd you take a year? You took a year off, but you mean you took a year off the podcast?
I took a year off doing the pod. I
Uh-huh.
was going through a lot, as you know. As people who have been following the journey, they know a lot of personal changes.
Yeah.
And it was around last April 2022. I just hit this wall, man, and I could barely open up the laptop to even look at doing another podcast or sending another email or
right.
I was on my way to go do Sean Stevenson's show, the Model Health podcast.
Uh-huh.
And I'm on the 101 and Mom called just to check in. You know, I'd been living here.
Yeah.
With you, and Mom came back from Italy, and then She called just to check in, and I just burst into tears, could barely breathe.
Did you end up doing the podcast?
I did
with him?
the pod. It was a great pod. Had a great time. Great podcast. Noah was there, actually. And I just came out of that podcast, and I thought, you know what? I got to just take a break. I need some time off.
Yeah.
Need some time to recover, rejuvenate, pull myself together, take a little time, grieve this transition. And it was really powerful. It was a really powerful experience for me. In the process of turning it all down to zero, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how I've, for the longest time, for my entire life, basically, I validated myself through how much I'm doing, how much effort I'm giving, how much money I'm making, how successful I am, what my output is. And I'd totally blown myself out. I was totally burned out, washed up, had no energy left to give.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I started doing, I'll do like writing workshops now and again, and, you know, some in person, some on Zoom, some in groups, some with just individual. And I did one where the kind of essence of it was, well, first of all, it was like writer's block is dead. But then what I really came around to was like seasonal creation. You know, whenever I was in Martha, our Aunt Martha, who's a very prolific acting coach, our Aunt Martha coaches fucking
some of the biggest stars in the world.
Really big actors and actresses. But in her class, a lot of times she would talk about like seasons with creation. And I really believe in that. It's, you know, and if you think about that seasonal, and you think about from almost like a farming perspective, we're not always harvesting.
Yeah.
We're not always pulling the crops out of the ground. I mean, when you're farming, there's a lot of time where you're just witnessing. You know, so I'm just thinking about your process with that, and then you know, reflecting that back on me, my process with writing. Dude, I can't always open, like you said, open the computer up and start writing all the time.
Yeah.
I got to go live or listen or, you know, just
read, rest, study.
Yeah. So I totally hear what you're saying in that, you know.
It's an important reminder. And I remember Martha would talk about that. I remember her talking about that. And it was always so profound to me, because somewhere along the line I picked up the belief and strapped it to my back that I always had to be producing, grinding, making something happen, making the money, doing the stuff, creating the fucking things, you know?
Yeah.
And it's totally true. It's fucking true. And to your point, you think about, take farming as an example, or growing food, plants, trees, anything. You plant seeds. Take some time. You got to fucking water the seeds.
Right.
Let the sun do its thing. Let nature take its course. Then there's the growth period.
Yeah.
You've got to prune. You've got to snip away the dead stuff as it grows, as the fruit's starting to blossom.
Right.
And then when the fruit's ready, you get to harvest it.
Right.
But even that, to me, like, as an artist, as a creator, as someone who spends their time creating things, whatever that might be, whether it's words or paintings or podcasts or whatever content, you know, whatever it might be, I don't know if the harvest is the creation.
Well, I mean, it's a little more mysterious, right? And a little less tangible.
Like, to me, the harvest feels more in alignment with, I don't know, maybe for you, you've just created your film. I mean, I think that's something to really talk about. You've just produced and put the final polishing touches on How to Kill a White Man.
Right.
was an incredible feat.
Yeah.
And so now the harvest is almost plucking that fruit and distributing it to the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's already been created.
Right.
The creation process is over with. Now it's time almost to feast and enjoy the fruits of the labor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what's so fun about being an artist too. You can have all these different things in different stages of the process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on this book. I'm working on this podcast. I've got a song going on over here, whatever it may be. I mean, that's so fun. But just to come back a little bit, I was thinking of this thing. When I would do copywriting for companies, I worked for like cosmetics companies sometimes, and I would do copywriting. It was always really hard for me to give them an hourly rate because I would say 90% of my time is just walking around thinking about what I'm going to write. 10% of it is actually writing the thing.
Right.
So that was interesting for me.
So how do you boil down your hourly rate?
That was hard.
When the work is the living.
That was tough. That was a tough thing.
Yeah, this is a great way to launch in here.
Yeah, the seasons of it, getting back in.
Yeah.
Did you ever? I always had this experience. I wonder if you had this. When I was in school, I had this experience sometimes where I would go into class and I could feel the collective energy. Did you ever have that? Like you would walk into class and you knew it was a shit day. Or you knew it was going to be an awesome day. You could just feel, and that to me goes to show like our collective energy of the group. It's kind of fascinating how we all sort of, and you know, I think people usually sum it up into the pop culture thing of Mercury is in retrograde. That's like our collective energy gauge, whatever that means, if anybody's even on top of it, you know, and speaking about it in a real way or a true way. But I think that's interesting too, how
the collective energy.
Yeah, and just thinking about things move in waves, man. This too shall pass mantra is so axiomatic and true that it's nothing is stagnant. We're constantly ebbing and flowing, which is just such a great, you know, your podcast is that. That's the gist of I mean, it's what the title of your podcast is.
Yeah, it was funny. I got a text from my buddy Matt. He sends me a text every morning. Have an excellent day. Every morning for like the last 2 or 3 years. I met him on Hotbox, and he was part of the support crew. And literally for every single morning for the last 2 years, Matt sends me a text in the morning. Good morning. Have an excellent day. And he's a program guy, so it's part of his work in his program, which is amazing, and I love that. I love that he's brought me into that. And this morning he sent me a text, and it autocorrect. He said, "Good morning, bro. Have an excellent February," because today's Feb 1. And he's like, "Love you, Zen."
Oh, funny.
And he went back. He was like, and he recorrected it. He's like, "Eb."
Yeah.
And I laughed. I was like, that's so funny that my name got auto-corrected to Zen. And that idea, and how many guys I've come into contact with throughout my life of go, "Eb, you're so Zen." And the ebb and flow, it's a Zen principle.
Yeah.
You know, the Tao, yin yang, ebb and flow.
Right. You know what my name gets auto-corrected to?
What?
God. So if I send somebody a voicemail, they get the transcription. It'll say like, "What's up? This is God," because Gus is like hard to for the transcriptor to track.
I love that.
It's pretty
dude.
funny. Yeah.
But it's really true, and it's an important thing. For me, this year has been so much of coming into confrontation with myself over and over again, and the forgetting and the remembering and the having some grace and the letting go and surrendering and taking action and saying no and saying yes to the opportunities that feel in alignment. And really it's all just been this process of getting myself into alignment for the next phase. And this constant process of transition, transforming, changing, evolution, growth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny to me how you know me, dude. I fucking meditate every day. I pray. My life is a spiritual program. Like, that's literally just what my life is. And even in that, I get in these places where I'm fucking holding on to an old thought or an old way of being, or I'm holding on to, I gotta get it done, only to realize that, hey, we're just stepping into a new phase, you know?
Yeah.
Let me take it easy here. Let me learn once again how to put the sword down and just go with the flow. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And, I was in New York City last week and got to see Marth and Grammy.
Yeah.
And that was such a fun and interesting experience. Staying with Grammy, that's an adventure in and of itself.
Right.
She seems great, by the way.
Nice.
And
that's our grandmother for
yeah, our
anybody that
grandmother.
doesn't know.
Estelle, who's just an absolute force of nature.
Yeah.
Super inspiring, super powerful person. At times terrifying.
Yeah.
And but like the most incredible human being, and I feel so blessed. Like what an incredible blessing to be born into this family.
Yeah.
With her as the matriarchal figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Marth, who I just love.
Right.
She did my numbers.
Oh, sweet. The I Ching?
Is it the I Ching?
I think it's the I Ching that she
her
does
numerology. That's the.
I think
she
that's
does the
what
I
she
Ching.
does it out of. Yeah.
It's so dead on.
Is it?
It's
yeah.
so fucking dead on.
I gotta-
And she said to me, she was looking at my numbers. She said, Eb, you're victimized by your emotions.
Uh-huh.
I was like, yeah, 1,000%. I've literally thought to myself, do other people feel the way I feel? It's like, feels like I've got like a 10,000 pound weight on my back at times with my emotions. If I don't actively practice not holding on to the waves of emotion that move through me, I will be fucking crushed.
Interesting.
The other thing she said to me was, your routines will sink you. And what's interesting about that is that I'm also a process-oriented person.
Yeah, I feel like you're very into your routine.
I know. And what the interesting part of it is, she's totally right, because what I find is, even in the last month, I get into I have my routine. I wake up every morning, I drink a big glass of water, I meditate, I do breath work, I do a little movement, stretching, and then I'm into my day.
Mm-hmm.
About a month ago, I was doing that, and I thought to myself, holy shit, I would rather do fucking anything but this. Like, my routine was literally dragging me down.
I understand that. Yeah.
And so what I had to do was recognize that and go, you know what? Let me be a little bit more flexible here. I mean, fuck, I wrote about it in my book. Flexibility is fundamental.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really what I meant.
Right.
When I wrote that. Discipline is great and having a routine is great. However, when the routine goes stale and it starts to weigh you down, it's not doing you any good anymore. It's not being of service to you.
Right.
So I just changed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it made me light again. It gave me more energy. It refreshed my system. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, for sure, dude.
And it's just interesting. It's just really interesting to see and witness all of these things arise over and over again.
Uh-huh. Well, I noticed that with my meditation practice because, like, particularly with TM, Transcendental Meditation, which is one of the practices I've used and got a mantra there. And, you know, their practice espouses meditating twice a day for 20 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And that just gets really fucking boring. And you start weaponizing it. And it's just, you know, am I supposed to move through that and learn to love it? Or do I just let it go and do 5 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a profound shift for me when I just released the burden of, you know, needing to do a 20-minute meditation every time and just sat for 5 minutes. I felt so much better, actually.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, there's that Zen saying, oh, if you can't do 5 minutes, well, that means you should do 20. It's like, okay, I guess I'll just fucking, you know.
Well, no, it's a really important point and thought to explore when the disciplines become a burden.
Yeah.
I'm in that right now with Bikram. I went this morning. It feels like a fucking grind right now.
Dude, I just can't I can't do the same thing. Oh, I mean, I think it's a balance, just what you're saying. I think it's a balance. Discipline is really important. Routine is really important. But if it starts to become a slog and detrimental and you can feel that, hopefully you're close enough to your intuition where you can feel that, then shift.
Right.
Back to the seasonal creation.
Yeah.
If your fucking podcasts start fucking getting stale and uninteresting and you're not interested in it and the energy's not there, stop doing it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times in the past year I've opened up my computer to start writing and I've just put one word on the page and said, I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah.
I need to do something else, which is for me why I've shifted my energy to acting more, and I'm going back over to the actor's studio and just like following it. Just following the thing that's coming up.
Yeah. What do you do in that moment when you open up the tablet?
Well,
it's like fucking pulling blood to get the one word down, and then you recognize, you know what? This isn't a moment for me to be writing. What does that process look like? What do you then go do?
Well, that's why I said hopefully you're close enough to your intuition to recognize this is not what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I close the thing. I go for a walk. I'm outside. Go see a friend. Call somebody. Eat something. You know. And just change the energy. You could just flip the mouse pad. Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
So.
Yeah.
And just
moving is always a good. Moving and getting outside.
Right. See, that's something about sports I'd be curious with you, man. I don't know how the fuck those guys and women don't just get bored to tears. I mean, we've talked about this, those people that play until they're 40. It's like, or then they retire and they're still talking, sportscasters and like, it's like, don't you want to, are you not, maybe you're not bored. Maybe it's just lovely and amazing the whole time. And, well, you've shifted your energy. So you're not playing. Now you're a sportscaster. So it's like, okay, you've shifted it. But man, I loved basketball, but I was tired of playing basketball by the time I was like a senior in high school.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it would be cool to keep going. And I guess when you level up, then the interest changes. So it sort of creates a new experience.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's I don't know. That's why I love mixing up the mediums. I write a play, I do a film, I write a book, do a short story, edit something, stay in the mix. But
yeah, I mean, look at Tom. He just called it today.
Yeah.
45, bro.
Yeah.
Fuck. I totally agree. To some extent, I think as you go up in the levels, the interests shift and your focus changes. And you see it all the time. guys who are incredible athletes in high school go to college and they fizzle out because they're fucking burned out and over it.
Mm-hmm.
And then guys who were incredible athletes in college go to the pros and then they fucking fizzle out. You never hear of them again because they're fucking burned out and over it.
Yeah.
You know, and like every level, and that, you know, to some, that definitely happened to me. For me, it was really the injuries started to pile up. My body started breaking down, and then the game really became not fun anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was already hard enough, and then herniated disc in your back, nerve damage down your right leg, dislocated right shoulder, shoulder surgery, back surgery, torn muscles. Your body starts not moving the way it once did. It's not as easy. Literally, I've got to spend all of my waking hours getting my body into a place where I could get on the field and do the stuff.
Right, right. Yeah, it's
and it's really hard. I mean, like that, I'm so fucking blown away by Tom Brady. I mean, even this year, he still looked good.
He looked good. He looked,
playing wise. You saw him in his press conferences. I thought he's feeling it here.
Right, right.
Especially with all his personal life stuff, whatever's going on there. I mean, God knows. Right. You know, and to be who he is, he's in the fucking headlines.
Right.
And people who don't even know about football know who Tom Brady is.
Right.
You know, so I could tell in the press conferences there was that voice going on in the back of his head like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
I really had to come back, huh?
Man, that must have been rough. Game 2. You're like, oh no, I'm in here.
But he still looked great on the field. I mean, the dude was overthrowing Julio Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, he looked great. He looked, you know.
Whereas, and I only say that because watching Peyton Manning at the end of Peyton Manning's career, Peyton looked really rough.
Yeah.
Like Peyton could barely get the ball out.
Mm.
He was throwing fucking lame ducks in that last year in Denver.
Mm.
Tom never looked like that, though.
Right, right.
Well, I don't know, man. That dude found something. That dude, I know that guy was tapped into some holistic healing practices that gave him an edge.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. I know he meditates. He does breath work. He's probably done some plant medicine.
Yeah.
I've heard that he does float tanks and all that shit.
I'm sure
so he's like super tapped in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think keeps him fresh.
Absolutely.
And I think if you're going to be that guy, I mean, I played with a guy in Jacksonville, Brad Meester. He played 14 years, center, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right.
Absolute legend. 14 years, dude.
Yeah, that's wild.
I played 6. I was fucking...
Oh, my God.
6 years. That last year in Chicago, it was like game 14. I'm watching practice in the film room, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here?
They say the average career is only 2 years in the NFL.
It is.
That's
it's
what they
very
say.
short.
Well,
it's fucking hard, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot of fortitude. It takes a lot of, I don't know. Sports is though one thing. It's one of those things that you can't lie. If your inner self is not totally bought in, you're not going to be a player on the field.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to be able to show up and execute and dominate and be that force on the field if your inner self is not happening.
Interesting.
If it's not in alignment with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I had this conversation with somebody about
what?
You know, just how in sports, like, you know if somebody's good, and in art, I was talking about acting, really. In sports, you know when somebody's good, in acting, that's a little harder. I was talking to this actress about it, and she said, you know, that's not true. I don't even know what the conversation was. It doesn't really matter. But where are we going now? Where's culture going now? We stepped through the truth portal. COVID's done. People are still wearing masks for some reason. That's fine. But we've clearly stepped through a truth portal. It seems
1,000%.
It seems like we're in the Sat Yuga, where you can't help but tell the truth.
Yeah.
We don't seem to be living so much in the root chakra. I feel like we've leveled up. Not to demonize the root chakra, but I think we've certainly leveled up. And, you know, we were talking about AI, and I think it's interesting how there's these two forces of truth going on. The technology forces and the natural forces. And, you know, there was the new... is it in there?
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah.
It looks like it's good. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it looks like it's going on, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's going.
The natural... Your gain might be up higher. Oh, no, it's not. I don't know. You know, everybody's talking about, oh, we're afraid of AI with the writing Chat GPT. And, you know, for me, I just don't think that... I'm not really afraid of it because we're always going to need soul. And until we can inject soul into computers, we're fine. You know? Some things will be taken over, but not everything will be. That's my belief. And I did an experiment where me and a friend punched in a story idea into Chat GPT, and it spit out sort of an...
Tell people what Chat GPT is, for those who don't know.
Chat GPT is this new artificial intelligence endeavor. It's by this well-known company. I can't remember the other thing they did. I think they did like some image AI. I think they were the company that created that Instagram thing you see a lot where people put
Lensa?
I think so. Something like that.
Oh, they're the same ones?
It might be. They did another prominent AI venture. But this Chat GPT is a writing artificial intelligence where it can do anything with writing. So copywriters are scared. You know, you say, give me the best 5 mushroom risotto recipes, and it spits out 5 mushroom risotto recipes that are great or whatever. Or give me 10 dad jokes. It gives you 10 dad jokes right away. Or a friend and I did, like, give me a script about kids escaping technology. And it started to spit out a script. But you could kind of feel that there wasn't a soul there. It was like an interesting kind of trajectory it was taking us on.
Yeah.
But it was very rudimentary. Maybe, I'm sure, and they say it's going to get exponentially less rudimentary and more sort of, as it culls information.
Right.
It's going to be more, you know, profound in its own way. But, you know, so I guess that's one thing, if this is a cultural check-in, that's been pretty big with culture.
The AI art shit's really bizarre. I've stumbled onto these really strange AI. They're almost photographs.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about. That a lot of people are doing, where you inject your photo.
Did you see the thing where it was like Marvel characters?
Yeah.
If it was a Wes Anderson movie?
Yeah. A lot of stuff like that.
And what's interesting to me about all of that, because there's tons of that shit. There's also like the Batman and Joker gymnastics jazzercise-a-thon competition. It's weird as fuck shit.
Yeah.
It's like these weird
oh my God.
Batman and Joker doing fucking like workout videos. It's weird as fuck.
God, bizarre.
But something that's really strange about it is because at a glance it almost looks real.
Right.
But then you look at the hands are really fucked up. They have too many fingers, or they have no fingers, or it's just like this weird little claw. Like the hands are always, it hasn't figured out how to do hands, which I think is really an interesting thing.
Oh, yeah.
There was this clip that was posted because our guy Jarrett, he cuts all my shit up, you know, and he posts the clips on social media, and he does an unbelievable job. And it's always interesting to see what gets posted, because somehow it's very cosmic. A lot of times when I open up Instagram and one of my clips comes up, it's like a message that I even need in that moment.
Right.
Or a reminder.
Right.
And he posted this clip recently about me talking about I'm no longer interested in living in the fear paradigm of we're all fucked, World Economic Forum's going to take over, whatever the things are.
Right.
And in this case, the AI shit, too. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatever you perceive, whatever you fix your attention on, that's what your reality is going to look like. So if you're spending your time in total anxiety, fear, panic that your life is going to end at any moment and somebody's going to knock on your door and tell you that you're under arrest for having a gas stove, which is a thing that people are saying.
What?
Oh, yeah. Well, they're saying that, like, there's a whole thing happening of the government or whoever. I don't even know who the fuck is saying it. Somebody's saying that gas stoves are a big issue with climate change, and now everybody's up in arms that government agencies are going to be coming and confiscating people's gas stoves.
I have a gas. What? Everybody has a
Listen
gas
to me,
stove.
Dude. It doesn't even matter. Nobody's coming to take your gas stove.
Right.
Like, nobody's coming and knocking on my door. It was like during COVID and, like, the panic and the fear of they're going to throw the unvaccinated people in concentration camps. They very well might have wanted to do that.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. Lockdowns couldn't even continue because there was so much resistance. Mask mandates, vaccine mandates, none of it could even continue because there was so much resistance against it. Going back to, for instance, David Hawkins' Power versus Force. Anything that is in resistance to the ultimate energy of God, love, truth, it's not going to have any power. There's no power behind it. So any government agency, institution, they can say whatever the fuck they want to say. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's on you if you're going to spend all of your time in a total fear state, locked in your amygdala, locked in fight or flight, believing that at any moment somebody's going to come and take your livelihood away from you. And it's the same with the AI.
Right.
Sure, there's AI. Great. In San Francisco, they just passed a law that AI robots can kill people in the street for the police department.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's a good idea.
That'll run its course as well.
Yeah.
All of this stuff will run its course because it's not anchored in truth.
God, it's so interesting.
It's not anchored in love, man.
Yeah.
And that's not to say like it's all love, bro.
Right.
No, but it's love or fear. Those are the two
Right.
pathways that we get to go down. Those are the
Right.
two choices that we get to make in our life.
Yeah.
Are we making our choices? Are we making choices in our life that are based in love, goodness, highness, success, high vibrational frequencies? Or are we making our choices based on fear? Holy fuck, this is going to happen if I don't do this. That's not a choice that I'm interested in making.
Yeah.
Because where does that lead? If you make all of your choices based on fear, that leads you down a timeline of fear and darkness. So where do you think that ends up? That doesn't end up on the fucking mountaintop in your highest greatness, living your life in that way. It doesn't. It's impossible. If every decision you make from the moment you wake up in the morning till the time you go to sleep at night, if every decision you make during that day is based in fear, where the fuck do you think you're going to end up? Right?
Yeah.
It's simple. It's really simple.
Yeah. It is simple.
And that doesn't mean we're burying our heads in the sand either, man.
Right.
And saying, oh, well, no, it's not real. It's not happening. No. It means we're fucking awake, engaged, aware, and ready for whatever the fuck comes. If you're making all your decisions based on love, the highest good, worthiness, power, strength, courage, you're available to whatever happens.
Mm.
None of us have much control if somebody wants to drop a nuke anywhere in the U.S. right now.
Right.
There's very little we can do, if anything. So you might as well just enjoy your fucking life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I saw that post the other day.
Oh,
that
good.
was a fun one.
Good.
Start my day with that post. Russia's going to drop a nuke at any moment.
Nice. Love it.
Learn what you got to do to be prepared. I'm like, bro, if that's happening, there's not much I can do, man.
I was talking to somebody last night. They were like, it was just sort of an aside. They were like, you know, what did they say? They were talking about like, I don't want to live in New York. I'm happy here in LA because I got my Jeep. I know what my escape route is if something happens. And I was like,
bro, you're not going anywhere if you live in LA.
what do you even talk? I mean, what? Well, what?
Your
Okay.
escape route?
I mean, sure. Okay. Your escape. You'll last like 4 days.
There's
and then
20
you'll have-
million people
Then you'll
in
have
LA,
no
brother.
idea what to eat, and you'll be dead.
You can't get from Venice to the Valley in less than an hour
Yeah.
on a fucking Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
You got an escape route?
Yeah, I know.
To where?
Yeah. It is a profound thing to think about. First of all, like you just to kind of unpack what you were just saying about like it is very simple. The yin and yang. You think about that symbol. There's only 2 aspects to the yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 sides to the coin. Light and dark, love and fear. Like it is a very simple equation, this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you think about like how all tyranny never lasts.
Yeah.
Tyranny never lasts. I think about like all spiritual leaders, they're all grounded in love. I don't know. It's just a very interesting thing to me how these dynamics have been created, and they're like fundamental. They're like axioms of life.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of funny. I think about like, why is this called a certain thing and not called something else?
What?
Just
Anything?
like, yeah, and like, why did love become the highest value? It's so mysterious and kind of strange. And, but you're right. I mean,
Well, Wayne Dyer talks about it in his book, Manifest Your Destiny, where he said, think about love as the fundamental principle of the universe. And unconditional love at that. And if you think about from a physical perspective, if there were conditions placed on existence, reality would literally fall apart. If there were conditions placed on existence on any level, this whole thing would completely fall apart. The structure, the fabric of reality would literally come undone.
if conditions were placed on it?
If there were conditions placed on existence.
In what way? What does that mean?
If our existence was conditioned upon us being a certain way, and that was the only way it could happen. Now, there are certain natural conditions or chemical conditions that are already in place that allow for existence and life to occur. But beyond that, as far as like it having to be a certain way, from an energetic perspective.
Well, I think unconditional love is a really interesting thing. And
well, that's the ultimate principle. of God. Because if you could only exist if you did the right thing, or you fucking only spoke a certain way, that was the entire condition of your existence.
Yeah.
You wouldn't last very long.
It'd probably be rough. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Unconditional love. I mean, it's interesting because we're always wanting to get something. But I guess the more you clean out, the more you trust God and clean house, you become less, you have less conditions on your love, you know? I think that's why so many relationships don't work out, because you're functioning from this place of conditions
and expectations.
Where
exactly right.
You even say, "Oh, my love for you is unconditional," but there's 1,000 conditions.
But you better
attached.
be like this.
Yeah, there's 1,000 conditions.
The
attached.
dishes better be fucking done by
love.
the time I get home.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's been a really interesting part of my journey, dude, is coming into acceptance and love for myself no matter what is going on.
Yeah.
Because I have found, and honestly, no matter how much I fucking meditate, no matter how much yoga I do, no matter how clean I get, no matter what is going on, the feelings, the thoughts continue.
Yeah.
I still feel angry at times. I still feel sad at times. I still get stuck. And then what inevitably happens? Then I start to layer more shit on top of the feelings that are just naturally arising. I'm angry because I'm angry. Right. I'm sad because I'm sad, or I'm angry because I'm sad, or I'm frustrated because I'm sad, or I'm angry because I'm frustrated, or I'm sad because I'm angry. Yeah. And that's just me being in resistance to myself. That's me being in resistance to nature happening. Right. My nature. Right? So my practice lately, which has been a profound one, is whatever's going on inside of me, anger comes up, sadness comes up, frustration, confusion, not knowing what to do comes up. I'm just going to love that thing, dude. I'm just going to be in acceptance of that thing. And for me, that's the practice of unconditional love. Yeah. Like my relationship with myself is not conditional upon me being a certain way. Right. I don't have to be fucking high and mighty and wise guru Ebb for me to be okay with myself. Like I can be sad, lonely, depressed, angry Ebb. And inevitably what happens is I'm released from that feeling like that. Yeah. Well, back to this too shall pass, the ever changing feeling of it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's truer words have ever been said. This too shall pass. Yeah. Well, you think of, there's a lot to say about the love stuff. We're going to do a pod on it. Yeah. We're going to really break into the love. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. But I think it's a really important part of life. Even more so when you've spent a lot of time going inward, turning your gaze into yourself. You've gotten really clean. You've reconciled a lot of pain, suffering, traumas in yourself. Right. You've found wholeness. You've connected with God. Then it really becomes about what are the choices you're making in your life. Right. What are the choices you're making? because that's where the fucking rubber meets the road of your life, dude. Like, what decisions are you making?
Mm-hmm.
I've had this really interesting thing lately, man. And it's because I've been witnessing people around me who rub me in a way that triggers me, to put it as neutrally as possible. And what I've realized is that in my life, I have this thing inside of me that says, if I've become aware of something, a dysfunctional behavior, a defect, a old paradigm, or an old way of being that is no longer serving me, my life, my relationships, and I am actively choosing to not acknowledge and honor that knowing or awareness, to make new decisions, to do things different,
right,
I'm fucking wasting my time.
Yeah.
On this planet. I'm wasting my time in my life.
Well, I think the amount of time that we spend denying our intuition is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So like you said, you know, and that trust God, clean house, you gotta continue to, and how do you do that? I mean, I have a way I've done it. There's a certain inventory process.
Well, your life has to become a spiritual program.
Yeah, I've had a teacher, sort of mine, talk about how your intuition is a bodily function, and I feel like that's really true. Which
Totally
is basically
true.
saying it's your heart. You basically, when something comes up, you feel your heart, you feel your energy, you know, energy change.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're sitting there witnessing the person that's rubbing you the wrong way, your intuition is telling you something. It's not really your brain, to me. It's your heart. And I think we cloud that a lot because we don't want to listen to it for whatever reason, depending on the relationship.
Well,
And
do you think we don't want to listen? Why do you think we don't want to listen to it?
I think maybe we want to listen to it, but we don't know how or can't, or we're unsure.
Or it feels scary?
Whatever reason. We haven't cleaned enough. We haven't cleaned house enough to be able to know what the truth is. You know?
Well, that's a really important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cleaning house, polishing the crystal.
So then back to the love thing. It's like, you know, you know, you're saying you love, but you haven't really done enough inventory. I mean, I was just working for this mushroom company, and I was interviewing somebody for them, and they did this series of interviews of people taking.
When did you do that?
This was last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this series of interviews of people that take mushrooms and how the mushrooms have affected them positively. And I was talking to the girl, and you know, I'm essentially working as a journalist for this mushroom company. So, but I'm in this space where I don't really believe that mushrooms are the end all be all. So it was a little sticky for me to do this interview because I was like, do you want, you know, my truth might have been different than the owner of the company's truth in a way. Mm-hmm. So, or in terms of, you know, because they're selling mushrooms. It's kind of they're more of a content company. But anyway, in the middle of the interview, I had to just kind of, I was talking to this girl, and, you know, and I had to just say, like, well, taking mushrooms is not going to solve all your problems. I mean,
this is what I'm talking about.
It's another key to get you to self-realization, but you don't just take mushrooms and then you're saved. You don't just go take ayahuasca and then you're saved.
Well, this is what I'm talking about.
So continuing to polish the mirror in a bunch of different ways. I'm not denigrating mushrooms or ayahuasca. I'm just saying
course.
there's a whole
They're
process.
great.
There's
They're
a
really
whole
powerful.
Exactly. There's a whole process of finding the truth, so that maybe you can be less conditional on life.
Yes, and it still comes down to you making choices and the decisions that you make.
Yeah.
The choices you make. That's where the rubber meets the road of life.
So we have fear. So if we're looking at this paradigm of making decisions in your life from love or fear, I feel like, and this is from my experience, you make the decision out of fear because you haven't cleaned out enough. You haven't, and that's a process. You haven't, and I think that's where trauma comes in. You have trauma responses built into your maybe it's not in your DNA yet. Maybe it's more in your subconscious, but you have to continue working that out and working through it so that you can trust love. I mean, to me, the worst bottom somebody can get is when they've rejected God, which is just you've rejected love and you've rejected positivity. That's the bottom to me. I remember my lowest point. I was thinking of getting a tattoo that said "No God." Can you get lower than that? No.
When was that?
It was like in Brooklyn. I don't know. That was a fucking shit show.
10 years ago?
Yeah. That's the bottom. When you've rejected God.
Yeah,
and it's so unfortunate that we've bastardized this word God, so where it's like people just go with this fucking insane fucking thing where you say God and they think you're in some, whatever the Western, thing is, not to denigrate that either, whatever. But God is love to me. It's positivity. It's that thing you're talking about. And I think you just need to continue to. We were talking about fake it till you make it, I think, a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
You just say it. Keep saying it. And before you know it, it becomes part of you. So then you can trust the love choice. This is from my experience. I'm speaking, personally.
No, I think you're right.
I've lived in tons of fear and made decisions out of fear a lot. And it's been a process of cleaning,
Yeah.
and doing the inventory, being scared, not doing the thing, not having enough faith, but moving a little bit further one day at a time.
Yeah. That's how you rewrite the programming. You rewrite the software.
Yeah. And I've had moments, I don't know if you've had moments, but I've had moments where I can actually feel my DNA or my neurochemistry rerouting. I've had
1000%.
I've had moments where I can feel the gears almost in my brain. It's felt like gears. When you see like clocks and stuff, the gears like changing direction.
Yeah.
And they're almost like trying to do it and they're confused, but they're like, okay, we're going this way now.
Yeah.
It's a profound thing.
1000%.
So to me, trust the process. Trust the process. What's the process?
You
need to find that for yourself.
Yeah.
I can tell you my process. If you want, I don't know. I mean, was like yoga, meditation, TM, exercise, 12-step programs, Al-Anon, AA, food, opening up, showing up, OCD therapy, this kind of therapy.
No more alcohol.
No more alcohol. No more weed. EMDR. Oh, let me try mushrooms. Microdose mushrooms. That's got me more grounded. Acting, right? So it's whatever your process is.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody has a different process. But you can't force the process either. You got to trust the process.
Mm.
And I think what happens if you don't trust the process, I don't know.
Well, this is a really interesting thing, man. It's a really interesting question. I have coaching clients. I do corporate wellness coaching. And it's an interesting thing to come into contact with people who are at square one or not even there yet. They've just found themselves in a place of unmanageability.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, my life was completely falling apart. By the grace of God, there was a blueprint built into my family lineage of 12-step programs.
Mm-hmm.
So I stumbled my way into Al-Anon by the suggestion of you, Mom, and Marth. And that really gave me some footing of what a process looked like. Granted, up until that moment, what did my process look like? A lot of exercise, getting my body super clean and healthy, a lot of nature, a lot of time alone, and a lot of weed.
Uh-huh.
That was basically the process up until the point of coming to Al-Anon, where I got to really dig my hands into a spiritual program, a spiritual process, which then led me into meditation, prayer, opened the door into other modalities like plant medicine and
right.
therapy, and obviously the group talk therapy was a massive part of that transformation, setting myself in a process. But for somebody like for me, a lot of times I end up, when I see the signs, I'm like, hey, maybe Al-Anon would be a good choice for you. You ever thought about 12-step programs? Other than that, it's like, hey, you need to start taking 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day and meditate.
Right.
You got to start talking to God, bro. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. I want to say something about this. I think it's a mix. Because part of me feels like my process, or because I think you and I have had like you said, it's in our lineage of 12-step programs, which is, see, the reason to me 12-step programs is such a powerful and successful process. Like in the Alcoholics Anonymous preamble, it says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Supposedly in the original text, it says, never have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. I'm not sure. Mom has talked about why they changed it to rarely. I think they were just like, all right, let's be a little more soft landing here. But to me, why that's so powerful is it mixes the mystical with the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, the practical.
That's the problem if you're just taking ayahuasca, but you're not doing the nuts and bolts shit
1000%.
of getting the fucking pen on the paper,
1000%.
fucking talking to somebody, getting accountable, taking responsibility. So for me, I think that's a real key, where you get really clear. See, I was going to OCD therapy recently, and it was a really interesting thing because I kept bringing up God. I kept bringing up God and miracles with my therapist. And that is so not in their fucking vernacular. And I was like, oh, this doesn't really work for me. Like, I'm taking in what you're giving me, and it's very helpful and works for me. But I also got to introduce the miraculous into this thing. And she would be like, oh, yeah, okay. But I would be like, yo, I'm not going this whole fucking science route.
Right.
I'm fucking bringing God into this shit. Because if I don't bring God into this, this probably isn't going to work for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to bring miracles in. And it kind of blew her mind, too, because she was like, oh, that's kind of...
Sure.
That's totally not what we learn.
Right.
We learn that's all
the
these fucking things.
Therapy, too.
Reassurance. You know, there's a whole thing with, like, the treatment of OCD. Are we back?
Again?
Oh, we're
There
back.
it is.
Yeah. So, anyway, I would love to bring that into my future study and work of, like, you know, mixing the miraculous with the nuts and bolts. I think that's a really important part.
Well, what's really profound about 12-step programs, though, is that the miraculous, the mystical emerges from the practical, the nuts and bolts.
Yes.
You go into
Totally.
a room.
The fourth step,
You
fifth,
sit
sixth, seven,
down.
8, 9. Yeah.
But even just you go into a room, you sit down with a bunch of people you don't necessarily know, and you fucking raise your hand and you share. Something happens.
Yes.
There's a God experience that happens in that room. And then, yes, as you work the steps, I mean, dude, step 4 for me was like blew the fucking doors off my whole reality.
And for people that don't know, step 4 is the inventory.
And my sponsor had me write out my life story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not everybody does that.
Right.
But that was the preamble to doing the what's the book called?
Blueprint for Progress.
The Blueprint for Progress book, where it's just like tons of questions, really powerful. You're literally drilling down into your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? Where the fuck do I come from? How did I get here?
Uh-huh.
But writing out my life story from beginning to current, literally, dude, because you can't do anything. It's just you. It's just you and the paper,
Right.
and God.
Yeah.
And if you're fucking serious, if you're honest about wanting to change your life,
Yeah.
you just start to be honest. Yes, this happened to me in my life. This happened to me in my life. You get to take accountability. You get to find forgiveness. Forgiveness for yourself. Forgiveness for others. You take accountability for where you're at in your life right here, right now, because you recognize that everything you are experiencing right here, right now is the result of the beliefs you've carried since everything as the result of everything you've ever experienced in your entire life.
Yeah, which goes to that trusting God and cleaning house,
Exactly.
like you said, like
And
polishing
then-
the crystals. So then you can know where your intuition is, where your seat of yourself is, your power seat. But back to your thing, even just going to meetings, I'm always kind of amazed at people that don't speak in meetings. Because for me, dude, that's where the real heart-opening catharsis comes in.
1,000%.
Yes, it's important to listen in meetings, but like for me, dude, I was always like, yo, I need to talk. I need to say something. Because
Yeah.
if I don't fucking say something, I don't know. I don't feel like I just need to speak. And I remember when I was first going to those meetings, I would raise my hand, I would get called on, and I would go, just start fucking sobbing, dude,
Yeah.
with like no words. And I felt this incredible cracking open of my heart. It was like my heart open, and it was like honey
1,000%.
was melting out. So
Yeah. No. Well, that's part of doing the work, because that's an action, making a choice to be seen and to be heard through the discomfort. Because of course that's fucking uncomfortable, dude.
yeah,
To open up and be vulnerable in front of a bunch of people you don't know.
yeah,
Of course. And that's part of the work. That's part of you breaking through your fucking, all your shit, all your pain, all your suffering, all of your darkness. You're literally, it felt to me in those meetings, it felt to me like I was literally dragging myself into the light.
yeah,
And then it's just like this God fucking explosion.
right.
This God eruption. And you're just blasted into fucking love, acceptance, joy, peace, serenity.
Yep. And one of the things they say, progress, not perfection. We claim spiritual progress rather than perfection. And also the thing that saved me was don't leave before the miracle.
It's a big one.
Just stay in. Don't leave before the miracle.
It's a big one, dude.
Stay in. And slowly but surely, you start building a more strong sense of self. Your power seat starts becoming more and more strong with a true sense of integrity.
Well, that's a really interesting thing, isn't it? The sense of self. A lot of people, I think, are walking around, they have no sense of self.
Well, because they haven't done any work. They haven't actually looked at what's going on. You haven't done any inventory.
So it's truly you're walking around in your life going, what's me? What's the outside world?
Mm-hmm.
That's the experience, though.
Yeah, and you know what's so profound, I believe, about something like mushrooms or ayahuasca from interviewing these people? What I realize is the main key of it makes you or lets you or allows you or gets you to become the witness. So you can see it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
That hit me. I was like, oh, that's why we do the psychedelics.
Yeah.
You can look at life from a different perspective and stop being a victim.
1,000%.
I was like, that's why it's so important to do the psychedelic, because you can see it from a different angle.
Well, that's what I've been saying since I've been on this train, dude, is the psychedelics do what the meditation does.
Well, meditation too, I was going to say, or meditation. Yes, exactly.
It changes your perspective. It pulls you out of the being the thing.
Yes.
And allows you to witness it and see it.
Right.
And not be it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a really powerful experience.
Where you're not caught in the drama.
Yeah, you're not living the drama. You're just watching the drama. The drama is always going to happen, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Life is chaos, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Life is constantly swirling, happening, going, moving, shifting, shaking, erupting, exploding. It's constantly happening, never stops happening. Where are we in that? Are we able to be still, anchored in our truth, unshakable, as that shit all moves around us, so that we can respond or be available to whatever comes up in our lives? Or are we going to be just swept up in the chaos?
Mm-hmm.
Lit ablaze, completely rendered useless, battered, bloodied, destroyed by it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really on us. That really is on us.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the decisions that we get to make. One moment at a time.
Yeah.
And you really can only get to that place of being able to make those decisions when you've done this work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it's as simple as coming into recognition of yourself and taking accountability of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I would ask you again, though, if you're not offering someone 12-step programs, what process are we offering people?
See, part of me wants to say the 12-step program is the most profound, effective program ever created.
And I would say probably everybody could use it.
Absolutely. Whether you're in Al-Anon, AA, NA, MA, OA, really Al-Anon, if you don't feel like an addict or an alcoholic, go to Al-Anon. Trust me, there's somebody in your life that's an addict or an alcoholic or is making you feel dysfunctional. There's also CODA. There's Codependent Anonymous, which,
Are we breaking rules here?
No, dude. This is shit that saves
I
lives.
know, I agree.
Fuck
totally
that
agree.
shit. This
I
is shit
totally
that
agree.
saves lives, dude.
I agree.
If one person hears this and they go to a meeting and it saves their family and reroutes the trajectory of their lineage and the fucking DNA of their whole fucking ancestry, this shit's important. And that's one of the challenges with the program, that we have this sort of vow of anonymity. But that doesn't mean that you can't, talk about the virtues of it. I don't
agree.
know how I
talk
feel
about it all
that.
the time. I agree. I talk about it all the time. And us discussing this, to me, illuminates why that caveat is in the literature, it's because of the people who come from families affected by the disease of alcoholism or addiction. What will we do once we've tasted the medicine of Al-Anon or 12-step is there is a possibility that we'll just go around going, dude, you got to go to 12-step.
But I never do that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why that rule is in there, though.
Yeah.
It's because of that. It's not.
Absolutely.
It's not espousing I mean, dude, it's the holy grail of a spiritual program, honestly. Yeah. The 12 steps are literally a boiled down spiritual awakening into nuts and bolts practical steps.
Right. So I've thought about this. How does somebody get that if they're not in the 12-step program?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You better have a really fucking intuitive, brilliant therapist. You better have somebody who basically knows that process on their own, or they've been inspired by 12-step programs. And brilliant therapists are not easy to come by, which is why I think so many people struggle, even though they have a therapist. Because first of all, a therapist that's going to keep you accountable, that's going to be hard to find because they want to keep you because they're making money off you, Whereas you work in 12-step programs and it's purely altruistic, there's no money involved, you're paying nobody. It's donation only through the seventh tradition where if you go to a meeting, you can give $1 if you want. You don't even have to do that. Before you know it, you start wanting to give money to the thing because it's fucking saved your life and saved people you know's lives. But, dude, I don't know. I think it's a really interesting thing.
You better start fucking meditating a lot. You better start making your life about your spiritual practice. Moving your body, praying, meditating, affirming, writing. That's the only thing I can really come up with. Mm-hmm. If you're not going to do that, then...
If you're not going to do a 12-step program.
You're not going to do 12 steps because it doesn't call to you or whatever it is.
Right.
Then your whole life better be a fucking spiritual practice.
Right.
If you want that. If you have come to the place where your life is unmanageable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which most people are living in some form of unmanageability, even when you're in the program, but you have a great design for living.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And ultimately it's about service and be of service. Let's not forget.
Well, that's really the thing, isn't it? Being of service is the next God action that we can take. Being of service.
Be of service and, maybe don't tell anybody about it.
I was just going to say
don't tell
that.
you
That's
gave
the ultimate.
Don't tell your friend, hey, I gave the bum $1.
Yeah.
Aren't I good?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the ultimate God exercise. Do the right thing, be of service, do the good deed, and don't fucking tell a soul about it. Can you do that?
Otherwise it doesn't count. That's what
because
they say.
It's just an ego trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just did that to get your dick stroked.
Right. Yeah.
I think this is a good one, brother.
Yeah.
Kicked it off with artistry.
Yeah, that was fun.
Ended in 12 steps.
Yeah.
Great kickoff, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. But you find it when you find it. I think you find it when you find it, and everybody has their own path, and, everybody has their own intuition, and I don't think there's one way to go about it. There's lots of spiritual leaders and teachers that are really profound and
read great books,
wonderful, that didn't do 12-step programs, didn't do, read that book, but they read a different book. So
I think that's an important part of the process. Read great books. Look, you want a blueprint for living? Read great books. Take time to be quiet, aka meditate. Pray. Connect with God. Connect with a higher power. whatever makes sense to you. Connect with something that's greater than yourself. Write, even if it's just journaling. You don't have to write the next great American novel. Just write about what's happening inside of you. That gives you a great perspective on the energies, emotions, and thoughts that move through your being. It's great. Move your body. Eat good food, nourishing foods. Drink plenty of water.
Community.
Have a community. Have people that you trust. Everybody listening to this, I've said this before, you've got at least one person in your life who you could pick up the phone, call that person, and they'll hold space for you to unload whatever's going on inside of you. Every single person listening to this, you got at least one person who loves you in that way. Guaranteed. And then I would say, honestly, take substances in fucking moderation at best. I haven't had a drink of alcohol in over a year, and man, it might be the best decision I've ever made. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And keep it simple, man. Life is good. Breathe deep. Move your body. Enjoy nature. Get outside. Spend time with your loved ones. Spend more time doing things that you love than the time you spend doing things that you feel like are just obligations.
Mm-hmm. That question's been coming up for me a lot lately from people. People ask me, what do you do for fun? It's like, man, I don't really know how to answer that.
Well, my guy Noah said the most unbelievable thing I've ever heard.
Uh-huh.
He said the ultimate act of self-care is creating a life that you don't have to escape from.
I mean, exactly. I love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're living your life in a way that you don't feel like you have to escape from it, like on the weekend, you got to go to the bar and drink the beers and smoke the weed and hang with buddies and fucking unplug and go nuts. Like if your whole life is just fun, you wake up every day and you're fucking stoked about what the day has for you.
Yeah.
What do I do for fun? I live, brother.
I know. Well, that's my answer.
That's how I feel.
I know.
I fucking live, dog.
I know. Yeah.
Shoo!
I agree. I don't want to compartmentalize my fun.
Yeah, why are we doing that? Who told us that lie?
Yeah, that's a bad one.
I gotta pay bills. Me too, man. I'm fucking doing it.
Yeah.
And we can love it. We can love it all. It's not about the job you're working, dude. It's about your relationship to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let them know. Let them know everything that we got going on, dude.
So we got Higher Power Workshop. We got some merch. We got some stuff
merch
going on.
University of Surrender.
We got these University of Surrender hats. Hit us up, man. I made this shirt too. Who said the sky is the limit? This is an Eben Flow flagship shirt. We have the Eben Flow logo on the back. We're just trying to make materials with, that good vibration that we were talking about earlier. And then
got our books.
We got our books. We've got A Life Worth Dying For. It's been redesigned. That's on Amazon. Really excited about that. The Eben Flow book, obviously. Eb and I are going to work on a new book about love.
Got that
soon.
one coming.
So that'll be fun. Another conversation book. Yeah.
You've got a bunch of books out.
Yeah, I just totally redesigned my catalog on Amazon. I'm super stoked about that. It looks really good. I'm fucking jacked, and I'm starting to post more or publish more on Amazon, like short stories, essays. I've got a new designer. Shout out to Rye at Cruzacoda Designs. He's really great.
Does a great job.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, and then my How to Kill a White Man film. We're sending it to film festivals now. We're going to do a screening next month. Q&A after the screening. Yeah, it's going to be fun, dude.
So, same theater? Or?
No, this is at the Barnsdall Gallery Theater, and so that'll
Where's
be fun.
that?
It's in Los Feliz.
Dope.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing, dude. The Eben Flow Basic Tools to Transform Your Life. That's on Amazon. Check me out on Instagram, TikTok. What else? Got a lot of events going on. You guys know where it's at. All of this will be in the show notes, links, and then anything else you could find on socials. Season 3. Well, technically it's season 4, I realized. Yeah.
Of the podcast?
This is season 4, bro.
Oh, I love that.
We're kicking it off, going big. Got a
Yes,
lot of great
sir.
guests. It's going to be great. As you can see, we're dialing up the content. Lots of love to you guys.
Namaste.
Namaste. Have an excellent rest of your day. Stay strong out there. Lock in on your process, baby. The process will take us to God. See y'all next time. Peace. What's up, guys? I want to take a second to recognize and talk about one of our sponsors for the Eben Flow podcast, NewFit. This is the newbie technology. It's a state-of-the-art electrical current that taps into your nervous system to quicken healing times, help build muscle, build strength, optimize the total functioning of your overall physical well-being. One of the founders, Garrett, or the founder of the technology, Garrett, lives in Austin, Texas. I had the chance to meet Garrett and try out the NewFit technology at a wellness event that I was speaking and teaching at. It's profound stuff. It will elevate your workouts. It'll help you recover quicker from injuries. It'll help your body and your mind function better. It's a fantastic technology. Check it out at at new.fit/Eben Flow. Use code Eben Flow for a discount on your device. Incorporate it into your home gym or your practice if you are a wellness practitioner. It's a big upgrade to anyone who is looking to optimize their well-being. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Quicksilver Scientific. Quicksilver Scientific, one of my favorite brands on the planet, founded by Dr. Chris Shade. It's liposomal nanotechnology, liposomal delivery system, taking ancient adaptogenic herbs and roots, making them highly bioavailable. We're talking about ginseng, ashwagandha, astragalus, schisandra, goji berry, you name it, NAD, all the good stuff. They also supply Quinton, which is the ultimate remineralizer, rehydrating product on the planet since the late 1800s. Can't say enough good things about their products. I love the One, Membrane Mend, NAD Plus, Platinum, Longevity Elite, Nano Fuel. Nano Fuel is the ultimate mind focus, cognitive function optimizer. It's fantastic stuff. Love it so much. Thank you to Quicksilver. Head over to quicksilverscientific.com. Use code EbenFlow to get yourself a discount on all of their fantastic products. Enjoy.